Sonic the Hedgehog was quite the deal when he was releasing on the Genesis. One may think that if you didn't own a Genesis and you own an SNES, then you were kind of out of luck. However, around that time, each company was releasing their 16-bit systems. They also released handheld systems to coincide with them. The Nintendo Game Boy, which, although it didn't start handheld gaming, it's probably the most revolutionary handheld. A year after, Sega decided to get their hands dirty on the handheld market as they released the SEGA Game Gear in 1990. Although the Game Gear was far better in terms of sheer power, you had to replace the battery far more often, resulting in the Game Boy having a far larger following. So, what does this mean for Sonic? Well, each of the games I discussed in the last video had a Game Gear release to accompany them: Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, and Triple Trouble. In addition to that, there were also a plethora of other Game Gear Sonic games, bringing the grand total of Sonic games on the console to 12, which I want to say is the most Sonic games on a single console. Anyways, a few of these games, specifically Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, Spinball, Mean Machine, and Blast, also got Sega Master System releases. But I'm specifically going to be talking about the Game Gear versions. Why? Because they're simply more accessible, as these were the versions that were added into Sonic Adventure DX, as well as ported to the Sonic Mega Collection Plus and Sonic Gems Collection, which, random mention, each of these collections received 6 of the 12 Game Gear games, but no title overlapped. So they literally split them up between the two collections, which is really weird since the Gems collection didn't see a PS2 release in North America, nor did it see an Xbox release anywhere, and the original Mega Collection was a GameCube exclusive without any Game Gear titles. So it was a really weird way of releasing these because if you wanted everything on one console, but you were kinda out of luck. Anyways, to actually get into the games, I'm gonna try making these quick, and I'll start with the Game Gear platformers that coincided with the Genesis games I looked at in the last video. I'm grouping these games together because I don't really think that they are too different to warrant separate looks. Like, it's not like Sonic 1 and 2's levels in the Genesis versions where they felt completely different. The levels in all 4 of these games feel like there's not very much substance, especially compared to the 16-bit games. Like, there's some cool stuff here, I guess, but nothing that I see and I think, oh my god, that's so cool. This most certainly isn't helped by the fact that in all 4 of these games, Sonic controls like absolute shit. Sonic feels like he has butter strapped to his feet, which makes platforming sections pretty unbearable. These bosses are also somehow even worse than the 16-bit games. I'm not really gonna go into them any further than that. I mean, just look at this. I mean, come on. With all of that being said, it's still impressive that these games actually exist, considering Sonic was built with more powerful consoles in mind. And that's all I have for these games, actually. Now for Sonic Spinball. I'm going to be talking about both the Genesis and Game Gear versions since, well, I don't know where else I could talk about the Genesis version of Spinball. I've heard that the Genesis version is far better than the Game Gear version, however, I don't really think that they're too different in terms of sheer quality. Basically, it's a pinball game, but with Sonic, with small parts where you can control Sonic. Hey, guess what? I don't really care for pinball, and I also don't like the pinball/casino gimmick that the Sonic series tends to use pretty frequently, and so, yeah, I don't think that either Spinball version is all that great. Generally, my opinion of these games are similar to that of Sonic 1 special stages. I just kind of wish you had control of Sonic, other than just, you know, flinging him around the screen. Now for the other 1993 spin-off, also released on both Game Gear and Genesis, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Once again, I'll be talking about both the Genesis and Game Gear versions since I don't know what other video I'd talk about it in. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is literally just Puyo Puyo Tetris, just with Sonic the Hedgehog branding in order to increase its appeal. I like the Genesis version a little bit more. I don't know, maybe because I had more success with that one. Is that version easier? I don't know. But yeah, I kinda like the Genesis version. It's pretty fun. Nothing crazy, but a fun game to play every once in a while. That's really all I have on this game. Now for the Sonic Drift games. Sonic Drift 1 kinda sucks. The problem with both of these games, though I found it worse in Drift 1, is that this kind of game just doesn't work on the Game Gear. The rendering in this game is terrible, and that makes it really hard to accurately time your turns, especially when you factor in that you slow down when you touch grass, and there are obstacles just outside the edges of the track that will stop you if you run into them. You can use the minimap up top to help time your turns, but I don't really think that it helps at all. Drift 2 I actually enjoyed quite a bit more. The rendering issue is still here, but I feel that the course design is generally a lot better here, helping mitigate the problem a little bit. One thing that's really annoying that I noticed in Drift 2 though, is that if you run into another car from behind, you stop dead in your tracks the same way you would if you hit one of the obstacles on the edges of the map. This is incredibly dumb. I don't know if this was in Drift 1 as well, since I never encountered it there, but I ran into this a bunch of times in Drift 2. Also, something really weird about these two games. Sonic Drift 1 was never released outside of Japan, but Drift 2 was, and it was still called Drift 2 for some reason. Drift 1 was never released outside of Japan until Sonic Adventure DX released in 2003, and then the Mega Collection Plus in 2004. But whatever, let's move on to Sonic Labyrinth, and good lord, this game is absolutely terrible. Eggman replaced Sonic's shoes with slow shoes. And now Sonic has to go through Eggman's Super Labyrinth by collecting keys and therefore the Chaos Emerald. Sonic Labyrinth has got to be one of the worst Sonic games ever made. This game has literally nothing going for it. Like, Sonic going slow is sort of a neat concept since that's his biggest strength, is his speed, but with how slow he goes in this game, it's just unbearable. You can either walk slower than a turtle or use the spin dash to go faster, but when you spin dash, you don't have control of Sonic until the spin dash is over. Not to mention 3 acts plus a boss act per zone. Granted, there are only 4 zones, but these levels are so short, you can get to the first boss in like 5 minutes. So the acts themselves are incredibly short, but I swear to God, they feel like they last a whole fucking eternity. It's not even like this game is great, or hell, even okay at everything else. The visuals of this game are boring as hell, and this sound is genuinely ear-piercing. Seriously, when I was playing this game, the sound was legitimately hurting my ears, and my volume wasn't really high or anything. Tails Adventure is another game that slows down the pace a lot, but unlike Sonic Labyrinth, this game isn't total garbage. To be completely honest with you, neither game starring Tails really left much of an impression on me. Like, Tails Adventure is definitely not a bad game by any means, but it's not something that blows me away either. You just sort of throw bombs at enemies and reach the end. Yeah, this game is super small at scale, and doesn't really have that much to it. It's pretty inoffensive though, as there aren't many aspects of this game that I actively groan at or dislike. Tails Sky Patrol, on the other hand, picks up the pace. A little bit. What would you even categorize this game as? A flight game? A shooter? I mean, Tails is flying and he shoots his ring. It sure as hell isn't a platformer, that's for damn sure. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, this game literally left no impression on me, so I'm not even gonna try to say anything about it. Last, but probably least, Sonic Blast, a tie-in game to Sonic 3D Blast on the Genesis and Saturn. This is definitely a contender for the worst game in this video. This or Labyrinth quite easily. This game, right off the jump, just looks like absolute shit to play, and if that's your assumption, then yes, you would be absolutely correct. The only quote-unquote cool thing about this game is that you can now select Knuckles for the first time in a handheld installment, but it doesn't really matter because both characters handle like shit in a similar way to the other Game Gear platformers. This game has also got to have some of the most boring level design in a 2D Sonic game. For fuck's sake, Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, and Triple Trouble all had far more interesting level design, and they weren't even all that. Not to mention, this has got to have some of the worst visuals out of any video game I've ever played. Like, look at this shit. Come on, look at this shit. They took 3D models and compressed them in order to have it closer resemble 3D Blast, but this shit just looks terrible. Like, it worked fine enough on the Genesis version of 3D Blast, but in this game, it just looks absolutely fucking terrible. Bosses are, once again, not that great, but there's this boss that literally comes up from underneath you. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to dodge this shit? Come on, really? And well, that's just about it I have to say on these Game Gear titles. I know that this video isn't nearly as long nor positive as my video on the other Genesis games, and that's because I don't really think that these games require as much discussion as those games, and I also think that most of the Game Gear games just flat out suck. Though, I love the fact that they were supplementing the main Sonic games with other home console and handheld releases. Yeah, Sonic Drift wasn't that good, but a Sonic racing game is a great idea. I also love that scaled down versions of the 16-bit games exist, even though they aren't that good. In the next video though, I'll take a look at Sonic's attempt at making a mark on the 5th generation of consoles, and let's just say, it wasn't pretty. But after that, we get into the big stuff. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.